Good morning, it's Shanna. I want to do a May wrap-up. I've never done that before, so I have a few notes, but I feel like I'm going to be all over the place because there's a lot to talk about this month, which is the perfect month to start doing this. So we'll just jump right in. I went on a vacation with my husband for our anniversary a couple weeks ago. It's our 28th wedding anniversary. Technically, it's in March, but last year we went to the coast in March, which I love the coast here, on the, Pacific Northwest coast. It's moody and foggy and romantic and mysterious and I don't know. But he really wanted to do something warm. So we thought we would wait until May, and he wanted to go see Alcatraz. So I was like, okay, California, San Diego. No, San Francisco. I keep saying that. Yeah, it'll be warm. Little did either one of us know, it's not terribly warm in San Francisco in May. It wasn't cold, it was jacket weather, and we did a ton of walking. The hills there are no joke. Like I've seen pictures, but yeah, they are exactly like that, and it was intense. So we did do a ton of walking, which helped keep us warm. We ate I'm going to be honest here. The first night that we had dinner, we stopped at an Italian restaurant, and it was amazing. I will try to insert some kind of picture here, whether it's our dish or of the restaurant itself. It was so good. The atmosphere was perfect. They had us sit in a little booth just outside of their front door, so we were facing the street. It was a private booth. Well, private to us. There was just, one sitting there. But we were facing the street, so people were passing, which I love. Both of us love. We're just kind of people watchers. The dinner was perfect. Like, I had the Primavera pizza, which was just a vegetarian pizza, and a bottle of red wine. It was lovely. So we just sat there a lot longer than we usually do for a dinner and just enjoyed the first night there. Beyond that, we left Monday morning and came back Friday afternoon. That was the only meal, except for one, that I really, really enjoyed. The rest were just okay. There were a couple that were just meh. So that was a bummer. But the second night, we couldn't really decide what we wanted to eat. So we wound up going back to the same restaurant, and I got the exact same thing, which it's not something I usually do. I usually try to pick something new whenever we go out. I try to pick things that I wouldn't normally fix at home. But I think I just needed something kind of comfortable and easy that I knew I would like. But it was good. I enjoyed it. So we're not very good at vacationing. I will be honest. We've discovered a couple of things on the last few years that we've traveled for our anniversary. One is that neither one of us really care for Airbnbs. I think we both like the convenience of a hotel room where we leave, the maintenance comes in and they take care of all the things, and we come back and the room's fresh and clean. We leave to go eat and come back. It's just, I don't know, maybe we just haven't hit the right Airbnb. Last year's Airbnb was nice. The view was gorgeous. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's not really the experience that we're looking for, I think. So the first night we were in a hotel, which was great. Was it 2 nights, I think? Then the third and fourth night, doesn't even matter. One of the nights we were in an Airbnb. So that sort of solidified it for us, like, yeah, just hotel rooms going forward. So besides that, like I said, we went to Alcatraz. We took a ton of pictures. We wandered the grounds. It was funny. My husband wanted to sort of desert, I guess, the walking tour guide, and I was like in a panic the whole time. Like, are we supposed to be doing this? Are we allowed to go over here? But yeah, pretty much the whole place is open. You don't have to stay with your guide. And I got some really, really beautiful pictures. I had no idea that the gardens there, that there are gardens there. and that they were maintained by the prisoners, and they've continued to be maintained, I would assume, by the city. I don't know, the county, the state, I'm not sure. But there were some interesting stories there. So yeah, if you're in the area or you're headed there for a destination, whatever, definitely recommend checking that out. Besides that, like I said, we discovered that we are not very good at hopping from place to place for a vacation. I think we prefer to get to a place, settle in, be comfortable, and explore that area, and then come home. So, yeah, lessons learned. When the kids were little growing up, we really didn't do a ton of vacations, or the ones that we did were just to go see family, so we would stay with family. But now that they're older and my husband and I are venturing out for grown-up things, we're learning this stuff now in our 40s, which is kind of strange, but it's fun. It's fun to learn something new, because I feel like at this age you sort of fall into that trap of thinking that you don't have anything new to learn. So it's kind of fun that way. So beyond that huge update, I wanted to talk about some things that I brought in, decks that I've been using, books that I've been using, and maybe that was it. But there are a ton of decks, you guys. I had no idea. So generally my method for any given month, I do like to swap out my decks monthly/seasonally. So usually I'll choose, a set, at least one deck, but usually a set of decks that I want to use for that month. And before I got the shelf put up here by my desk, I pretty well stuck to that, but I found myself sort of feeling boxed in a little bit. So since the shelf has been put up, and I'll link that video below. I don't know how long it is, but if you're interested, that's what I'm talking about. My husband made a shelf for me, and it's just here next to my desk. So that's been great because I can have a lot more decks just here at arm's length. Is that the right term? So I've been able to use more decks. So instead of maybe like decks for the month, I'll sort of do decks for the season on the shelf, so that even though I still plan decks for the month, I have others that I can bring in and swap out and pair together. So that's been good, and I've really, really utilized that this month. I guess maybe the last thing, maybe I'll write this down so I don't forget. I wanted to talk about spells that I've been doing, that I have utilized this month or that I intend to use in the coming weeks. So I'm going to write that down real quick because I will absolutely forget. Okay. So while on vacation, I bought 2 decks and this book, The Coffee Magic for the Modern Witch. Now this one I had seen on Amazon. I think it's been around for a few years. Oh, 1 year, probably not even a whole year. So 2023. But I had seen it and I considered it, but it was like one of those things where I'm like, do I really need this? Like, what am I really going to get out of it? But while we were on vacation, we went to Gallery Bookshop in Mendocino, California, if I could speak. And it was a beautiful shop. I'll actually link it below because I feel like if you're going through that area or if you live near the area and you haven't been in, you definitely should be. Make it a priority. It's a cute shop. It's a cute little town. It's right across from literally you cross the street and you're on the coast. You're like in the little grassy area before you hit the coast. So that was cool. And the best part was they have a shop cat. So I can't remember his name. I should. Caspian? I think it was Caspian. Anyway, he was a delight. And as one does when they're on vacation and they go in a bookshop, you have to get a book. So this was the book I chose along with, like I said, the 2 tarot deck or 2 oracle decks. So Coffee Magic for the Modern Witch. I've not utilized the book yet. However, it is the perfect size. I have a cupboard downstairs that's specific just to like my coffee mugs and my wine glasses. So it's sort of like that theme of the cupboard. And there's a little hinge in there that holds the door on. And right behind the hinge, there's just enough space for this book to sit. So it sits, like this right inside my cupboard. And then I have my, I don't even know what we call these, manifestations maybe, or little mantras that I like to have. I have one of these pockets for each season. I have fall, winter, spring, and summer. I need to swap out for my summer pretty soon. basically whenever I find something that I like, that I feel is seasonal, or an intention, for the day, I'll write it down on a little card and I'll slip it in here. And I like to use these while I'm pouring my coffee or pouring my creamer, or just as an intentional stirring while I'm stirring my coffee, I'll say one of these. And I try to be really intentional with what I put in here. I think I usually slip in one or two that I like just to have a start. And then over the months, the years, whatever, as I come across ones that I like, I will do that. And I just tuck those both in here in my coffee cupboard. And I don't think in the morning, I'm not like, oh, what intention will I say today? And then I can't just come up with one. It's just not in my wheelhouse. So this is a perfect way to do it. It helps me feel like witchy and magical in the mornings. And it sort of sets the tone and the mood. And for me, I really, really enjoy it. So I do need to kind of flip through this. It looks cool. There's some recipes. They all look really simple. I've done a quick flip. But what I need to do is tab the ones I want to use so that I can actually do it, because just to have a whole book sitting there is not useful for me. But that's my intention with this one. So that was the first thing I bought. The second thing that I bought was Christine Rose L here on YouTube. She has an Instagram as well and a website. Obviously, as usual, everything will be linked. But she wrote this book, The Happy Empath, and I've been curious about it for really since I found her YouTube channel. And so I decided to buy it. First of all, I want to say, look how pretty it is inside. A lot of thought has gone into it. I'm excited to dig in. I flipped through it. I did it was like a little quiz? I don't know if it's a quiz so much, but basically you go through and you kind of figure out what color you are, what color empath you are, and then you can sort of apply that throughout the book as you read. So I haven't gotten very far. I will say right now, I've bought a lot more books the last year or two than I ever have before. Like we didn't used to bring in books because A, it was, it's expensive, and B, we moved a lot. And so to buy a book and then have to move with it was a lot. And I don't like the idea of buying a book to then donate it, because I'm like, well, I don't know, if I'm going to buy something, I want it to keep it. So I try to be really intentional with the books I buy. I've utilized Kindle a lot more. And I'm sort of, I guess I will say but however, I've sort of allowed myself to branch out. We have money now to play with. So buying a book occasionally is not such a splurge, and something that I've been allowing myself to do. And then I'm not opposed to donating them anymore. So I do keep the ones that really resonate with me and then move on the others. Donate. I don't generally donate, actually, not to Goodwill, but I'll donate to the library. So I prefer to do that. That way I can buy it, and then someone who can't maybe afford that book can read it. So go me. Anyway, I'm excited to dig into this. Christine's an amazing person. She has such a cool, just a temperament, and the way she thinks about tarot and her input into books that she reads. She's an inspiration. So highly, highly recommend checking her out if you haven't already. And I'm excited to dig into this. So, okay, next book that I read, I actually bought two versions. Well, it's not exactly two versions. So this is her, Anne Bradstreet is her her biography by Charlotte Gordon. And then this is her poems, Anne Bradstreet's poems. There is another book that has a better cover that I'm tempted to get as well, and then I'll probably donate this one. So who is Anne Bradstreet, you're asking? She is apparently America's first published poet. And she is my 10th great grandmother. So I, of course, had to buy all the books that she wrote, or, all of the poems, all the books with the poems that she wrote. It was interesting. And now I normally wouldn't. I'm not a huge poetry reader, but there are some poems in here that talk about the four directions and a lot of nature references. And so, and also she makes a lot of references to her concern over being accused as a witch, or as accused as being a witch. And so she says that she's really careful in what she says and how she says it. And in my mind, now I'm putting words in a dead woman's mouth, but in my mind, I feel like she was witch curious, right? So in my head, that seems like the direction. I think you know what I'm trying to say. So I'm fascinated by this. There's actually a children's book written about her as well, which of course I bought. But yeah, I've not really delved into this at all. I'll be honest. Like I said, I'm not super into poetry. This book is not terribly captivating, but I think I want to make this one of my annotation books where I can kind of go in and just take my time, maybe read a chapter here, a chapter there. So I'm a slow reader. I have multiple books that I'm reading right now, which again is not something I used to do. I used to pick a book, read it from start to finish, and then move on to the next. But I have probably a dozen books that I'm sort of in different stages of reading. So all of that to be said, her poems are interesting, and I'm excited to maybe kind of discover more of who she is. And even if I don't read it from cover to cover, maybe using it as bibliomancy, and I would really, really like to try and communicate with her. Dare I say it? I know. So yeah, those are goals of mine, and I'm just thrilled to know that, there's someone out there who did something big and important with their life, and I'm related to them. So that was cool. All right, next up let's talk about the two, actually there were 3 decks technically. So the first deck I bought, also at the coast. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in just a little. Do we even need to move all this in? Yes, because it's cute. Okay. Because it's a whole aesthetic, right? This is a little hagstone that I bought, or that I found at the coast. It's funny, I had been, and actually it's a hag shell, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's not a stone. Hagstone kind of kept popping up for me, but really just 2 or 3 times I'm like, oh, hagstone, whatever. And then while we were at I think it's called Glass Beach there in California, I glanced out of, I saw this out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, oh, cool, a hagstone. And I was like, wait, hagstones have been popping up for me. So I picked it up. I did a little reel with it on Instagram, and I realized that it was probably something important. So she belongs to me now, and she's magical and lovely, and I love her. So here's to humanizing inanimate objects. Most of these decks everyone has seen, so I will just sort of briefly and loosely flip through in case you haven't seen it, and why not? So the Sea Soul Journeys Oracle cards. I'm going to be honest, I was very deck curious about this. Have been for a while. I thought maybe it would be pretty with my Oceanum Arcana. I did not have an ocean themed, I guess I'm flipping so that you can see. I didn't have a ocean themed oracle. So when I saw this at the same bookstore there in Mendocino, I immediately snagged it up. It was mine. But as with other nature-based photography decks that I've tried in the past, it just doesn't really resonate with me. It feels a little flat, which seems, the exact opposite of what it should do. The messages just feel a little generic. And I always feel bad saying stuff like that. That doesn't mean that is what this deck is. It just means that's how it resonates for me, right? We all know that, but I'll say it anyway because I never ever want anyone, if anyone were to watch my video who maybe creates a deck that I talk about, I never want anyone's feelings to be hurt or for them to be offended. So it is really pretty. It's just, does that make sense? Yeah, I thought so too. So I don't know. Maybe I will, and I can't really even trim the titles off because then it kind of ruins the backs. The backs are all different, which I find a little jarring, to be honest. It's just not really my vibe. I'm probably going to rehome this. If you're interested, let me know. I definitely haven't given it much of a chance. It's just not my vibe. I wanted it to be, but it's not. So that is, I don't even know if I flipped this open. I guess I went like this once. Anyway, if you're interested, let me know. Sea Soul Journeys Oracle cards. It was fun to get at the sea though. So, all right, next deck that I bought is the Pocket Archetypes. Now this one I've been curious about for quite a while, archetypes in general. I went back and forth between this one and the Citadel Oracle, but I don't really work with archetypes. I don't fully understand them. I know that Jung, or at least I think, if it's my understanding is that Jung, Carl Jung, came up with that concept, and that is the extent of my knowledge. But I've been curious, and I don't really like round decks. I've had one before. It just, it doesn't feel good in my hands, so I hesitated to get this one in the regular version, or the regular size. But when I saw this came out in a pocket version, and this bookstore had them, I snagged it up. So I'm curious. The guidebook seems really good. The few pages that I've read seem interesting. It seems very in-depth. The introduction has attempted to explain the deck very well, but my span of attention has not allowed me to read the whole introduction yet. So just being honest here. Taking a drink. But I am curious. So it's something that I'll hold on to for now. Sorry, I'm sort of just... Again, this is, it's a popular deck. I think most people have seen it. But I am curious. I don't really know how to use it. So perhaps this will be a fall-winter project where I can kind of dig into the book and watch some videos on how other people use the deck. But yeah, I'm not really drawn to Kim Kranz's artwork or her other decks. I did buy the Wild Unknown pocket version. And it promptly went back. Amazon, I just, it's like, it's like, if you're going to like it or not. I feel like once you've been in tarot for a while, generally speaking, if it's going to work for you or not. But sometimes I just really want to get the deck and hold it and like see if maybe it's going to work for me. And every once in a while, such as the Tarot Landscapes, which I've talked about, sometimes it works anyway. So yeah, that is the Pocket Archetypes guidebook, deck by Kim Kranz. So last one that I did bring in. Now this is a deck I already had, but I've only had this for about 2 months, is the Gentle Tarot. I mentioned before I bought the deck because I knew the first edition was going out of print, and she was coming out with a second edition, which I heard was going to be borderless, but the few pictures I've seen make me think maybe it's not going to be borderless. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The deck is beautiful. I've been resistant to getting it. It felt overpopular, but for good reason. It's a beautiful deck. And I wound up buying it for my daughter, I want to say like 2 years ago, but it wasn't the linen version. And so one of the last times that she came over, I was showing her this deck and she really liked it. And she said the one thing she doesn't like about her version is that it's really stiff and hard to shuffle. So I bought a second deck and gifted it to her. So she's got 2 versions of this now. We both have the full-size guidebook, which is this here. And I'm excited to have it. I feel like it's a special deck. It's really pretty. I knew I was going to be upset if I missed out on it. So it's one that I'll keep. I don't know how I'll use it, but I enjoy having it in my collection, and I'm glad I have it. And I'm glad I can say that it's mine. And I accidentally mixed these guys in. All of them. Okay. So those are my new decks from May. Now, let's see if I can get this back in the box without struggling. Look at me. Ha, spoke too soon. Okay. Gentle Tarot. All right, so my May deck, the deck that I chose specifically for May, is Tarot of Mystical Moments. My version is trimmed very slightly. I trimmed just enough to get the gold gilding off. I just don't like that. I don't like it, especially it seems like mass market gilding is very, very sharp and it hurts to shuffle. And this deck is, you know, that classic US Games cardstock that makes it difficult to shuffle to begin with. Mine's relatively broken in and it's still, it's a little stiff, I'll be honest, but it's shuffleable. If you break it in, it's shuffleable. This is my classic May deck. I've been using this one for May, ever since I've started tarot. It's my May deck. So again, everyone has seen this deck. It's all over Instagram right now. It seems like it's a popular one for May, which maybe is where I even got the idea. I have no idea. I don't know why I chose it for May other than just it has May vibes, right? So it gives beautiful readings every time, spot on. It's easy. It's not confusing. It speaks clearly, and I very much enjoy it for May. And Six of Swords has come up for me a few times this month. So, and interestingly, it's not even that interesting. I was going to say something else that's popped up for me is the Queen of Pentacles and the Four of Swords, which I don't draw the Queen of Pentacles often. So when that happens, of course, you pay attention. Shall I find the Queen of Pentacles? Does anyone care? Maybe not, but I'm going to because now I'm committed. Oh, there she is. I just think she's very pretty. I love the bunnies, love her dress. The whole vibe. I posted a picture of this and that Four of Swords on Instagram with the Color Mage, which actually I guess I've used that one too. The Color Mage Oracle. This is the 2nd edition. Shall I flip through this one? We've all seen it. This was out of print for a very long time. The creator did a reprint of the 1st edition. It did not come with a box, and there was some printing issues on the text, so they graciously sent, I believe, it was my understanding that they sent everyone who ordered that 1st edition a second deck to replace it, which was the 2nd edition, which has a different back, different font, and better coloring for each card. So I'm thrilled to have it. The 1st edition I gifted to my daughter because I don't need 2, but it was very pretty together. Actually, this is the color I had together for that one. It was lovely. I've not used this oracle a lot. I kind of struggled to figure out how to use oracles that are not like your classic traditional, but that worked really well. Basically, I did my reading with the tarot, got my, my cards, whichever one I was going to pull out or whatever ones jumped out for that reading. And then I just sort of went like this, and I sort of picked a color that worked well with it. And, obviously then I selected the one that I liked the best and went with that. That was my reading. So that felt good. I like that, So that is the Color Mage Oracle by Bernard Charles. And I will say, I don't know all the background stuff. It seems like people were kind of being grumpy with this person for the you know, the printing error. I don't know if it was an error or, I don't know, like, calm down, you know? People are doing the best they're doing, and I actually reached out to them and was like, hey, hope no one was grumpy with you about this. It seems like maybe they were, given the few posts that I had seen on social media, and I was like, whatever, just thank you so much, and I think the deck is beautiful, and I think you're doing a great job. And they replied and were very well spoken and gracious and thanked me, and just like a regular normal person thing, you know. I don't know. It was just nice. So all of that to be said, next is, these are the 2 decks, that I took to the coast. I took a few pictures of them on Instagram and shared there. This pairing was a surprise to me because I feel like they're very different, but for whatever reason, they just vibe really well, and they're very aesthetically pleasing together. So do a little flip. Maybe we should do 2 of these because it's a thicker deck. I'll do Oracle in the middle. These have not been shuffled, so I feel like when I do these and I don't shuffle the decks, I feel like I'm setting them up unprepared, right? Like I feel like when we sit down and we shuffle them, we're like, okay, hey, you're going to be on camera. This is the one you're going to be paired with, so get ready. So, but I don't know. I feel like the artwork is very, I don't know, maybe it's the technique. It just feels very similar. It just feels very textury. I like the way they, I don't know, tactilely they look good together. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I mean, I don't know, that's so pretty. Look at all the little circles here, you know, even in this little octopus. It just feels very synchronistic. And I enjoyed it very much while on the coast. So these are my coast decks. You know, I mean, come on. The Sea Soul Journey Oracle there was no chance that it was going to win over Coastal Curiosities. So, so pretty. I could sit here and flip through these all day, but I won't. Look at all that blue. I love this. Makes me want to go back to the coast just so I can use these cards together. Strength, protection, and King of Wands. I mean, right? Yeah. Okay, last one. One more, just to appease me. Nice. So pretty. Anyway, those are my coast decks, my ocean decks. I started writing down. I had a different method for how I was keeping track of what decks I was using. You know, in my journal entries, I was like, today I used Coastal Curiosities, and then I would continue to journal, but it just felt so, I don't know, stiff and formal to do that. So instead, I just started keeping a list, like at the beginning of the month, of any deck that I used, and then that way I didn't have to write what deck I used, unless I felt like it was relevant for that particular entry, and that's helped a lot, and it's helped me keep track so that I could do this kind of video with you guys. Okay, a couple that I used just randomly. I used Tarot of Echoes, I think once this month. A beautiful deck. Anatorian is the artist. Pretty sure we've all seen this. It feels like Anatorian has put herself out there well. It's beautiful. This one feels a little more July to me, but like I said, it's nice to have an arsenal of decks within arm's reach, because sometimes, even though it doesn't feel seasonally appropriate, it feels appropriate for the mood that I'm in or the reading that I'm looking for. And this one feels very ancestor-y to me. So if I remember right, I think that's kind of what I used it for. I don't remember specifically the reading I did, but it's beautiful and I enjoy it. I already have a deck that I use specifically for July, but I feel like I can definitely let this one sit, you know, on my shelf throughout the summer and be able to pull it in whenever I want to. Love this one. Of course, a bird, right? So yeah, that is the Tarot of Echoes by Anna Torian. Next, I used the Police's Oracle. I used this one quite a lot. I'm very much enjoying this one. I love the book that you can order. I'm assuming you can still get it. I don't know if it was a short pre-order or what, but definitely worth it if you like, you know, if you like to... I've said it before, I'm not super into poetry, but I like it for the Oracle because I feel like it sort of draws me into the moment. But also, I don't enjoy looking up the meanings on my phone. I try to avoid my phone while I'm doing tarot things. I just get too distracted, so for me, the book works better, so I'm happy to have it. And this deck, you know, it's funny sometimes, like I said, the artwork isn't really my style, the monotone colors isn't really my style, but I really like the deck a lot. So, and it goes with a lot of things. It goes with my Little Bird Tarot, which is the next deck I will speak of. Obviously, I used this a ton this month, both for social media, because in case you didn't know, I had a Kickstarter to get this deck funded, and it did fully fund. It ended on May 24th, and I couldn't be more thrilled with the outcome. And I thought that it looked really beautiful together with the Poesis. I would probably normally I would do 2 tarot and 1 oracle, but since the tarot is taller, we're going to do it this way. I just thought the vibe was the same. Quiet, you know, which is literally my personality. I think if I was going to use a word, I don't know, top 5 words to describe myself, quiet would probably be one of them. Only because I like it to be quiet. I don't like noise. I don't know. Anyway, you get it. I don't need to explain. I mean, look how cute. These two looking at each other. Love it. So yeah, these two definitely came out to play quite a bit. And Little Bird Tarot. Did I show the front of this box? Well, that's the front. And I love the gilding on this guy. Like, it's sparkly. Matte? I don't know. Is it sparkly? It's kind of like, I don't know. I want to say it's like sparkly matte. I don't know if you can see it in the camera very well. Love it. Does not hurt to shuffle. I probably should have been putting these decks away on the shelf as we spoke, but oh well. Next up, I didn't use this one a ton, but obviously we had to have Seasons of the Witch. I've already got my Litha sitting out, ready to go. I was about to shuffle it. We don't need to shuffle it. Again, we've seen this one. We know it. I didn't use it a ton. I think of all of them, I think this is probably my least favorite. And I think it's my least favorite for a couple specific cards. Probably you can guess. I don't know. This one's so pretty. This one was pretty with the Little Bird Tarot. Maybe it was really just one card. This one, I just can't with this guy. But I also struggle taking cards out of an oracle, especially when they're numbered. I don't know. So he stays, but I'm like, okay, whatever. I think this one's okay. I like that one a lot. So yeah, overall, I really like, I love the whole Seasons of the Witch deal. I think this is my least favorite of all of them. Gosh, I'm gonna throw things. So, okay, I have 2 more and then I'm done. Well, sort of. Done with decks anyway. So, really quickly, because we are at 40 minutes already. The Goblins and Gardens Tarot deck. I only used this once, but in the interest of being complete, I wanted to share this one as well. Oh gosh, I even used, wow, I used a lot of decks this month. I'll quickly just go through this one. Goblins and Tarot, Goblins and Gardens. Who is this artist by? I want to make sure I give everybody a shout out, especially the indie ones. Jonathan Sasha, art and design, and then written and edited by Jonathan and Mas Mendoza. So I believe this is still available. Second edition. I think the second edition is the same as the first. At least it's my understanding. I love this deck. This is probably a June deck for me, as is Herb Crafters. I will probably use these a lot together. Kind of that height of summer garden vibe before it gets hot and brown, right? So yeah, I love this one. All right, next to last, I've got 2 more. This one and 1 more. Southern Botanical. I think I brought this into my collection. I want to say maybe it was April. It could have been early May. I don't remember. I dragged my feet on this one, but I'm thrilled to have it. I'm not really into plant specific decks. I'm not much of a plant. Like, you know, I have my yard and I have my garden, I have rose garden. I'm just not really interested in all of the things that go along with it as far as spirituality and symbolism. But I knew I would regret not getting this one. So I do have a few plant specific decks and I wanted this to be one of them. I think specifically because it's Southern and we spent, our family spent a good portion of the kids growing up in Texas in the South. And so a lot of these are, I know what these are. I've been there, I've seen it, we've eaten it. So it's nostalgic for me. And for that, I love this one. Okay, last one, really quick, is Dreams of Gaia. Okay, so this is the gloss version, although I've heard from Soot and Salt here on YouTube that there is a matte version. They did a walkthrough of it. I'm really tempted, but again, I wish I could see it and kind of use it next to other decks before I made the decision to buy another version, try to rehome this one. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. I don't mind the glossy. I just know that, like, if I'm sitting here, especially in the evening, if I've got my lamp on, I get a glare and that's sometimes kind of frustrating, but silly. This looks beautiful with the little bird tarot. So I guess point being, I wasn't sure I wanted to keep this. It's a little out there for me, but it's funny. I've heard this 100 times talking about this deck. People say, it's not really a tarot deck because it doesn't really follow any system. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I would pull the card and I'm like, okay, well, first of all, I have to look at the guidebook most of the time for these titles. But okay, so King of Swords. I'm like, okay, well, King of Air, I drew King of Swords. And I try to like squish that meaning into this card and it just wasn't really working. And I'm like, I know people say it doesn't really work, but it should work for me. So I thought about rehoming it, but then because I was digging around looking for that matte version. I went to Amazon and I was reading through the reviews, and for whatever reason, one of the reviewers said, if you can stop working with this as a tarot and you just work with it with the guidebook and with your intuition, you'll get it. And yeah, that is in fact true. So I quit trying to squish it into the RWS system, and it seems a lot happier. So I'm happy to keep working with it, keep trying, because I just love this one, this card, this card, she's my favorite. So that is the last tarot deck I worked with this month, as if that weren't enough. Okay, let's move on to the couple books that I've been reading, specifically in May. There's others that I've been reading for a while. I won't get into all of those, but specifically for May. For that, I wanted to pull out my iPad. So Happy Empath, we talked about that one. Mistress, Bradstreet. I started Encyclopedia of Fairies, but I think I did that last month. I don't update my progress on here. It's not something I do. Okay, so for specifically May, I finished Begging for It, which is the second in the series by Lila Pace. And it was okay. I liked the first one better. But for this month, oops, so sorry. Goodness, that was violent. This month I read okay, so I bought Salt and Broom several months ago. And I really wanted to read it, but I have an Audible subscription that I consistently turn on and off because I don't want to pay $15 a month when it takes me sometimes 2 or 3 months to get through a book. So Salt and Broom, for whatever reason, was on sale for like $3.99 or something. And I bought it, and it was beautiful. I loved it. I enjoyed it so much. It's basically a witchy retelling of Jane Eyre, and it's been years and years and years since I read Jane Eyre, but I remember liking it. So yeah, I listened to the Audible, and I really enjoyed it. It was a little bit spooky, a little bit dark, just a little bit. It was low stakes for sure. But yeah, it would have been a great read for October, like spooky season. But I have no regrets for reading it now. I highly recommend. 5 stars. And yeah, what else? Was that it? Oh, I was going to talk about spells that I've been working with or doing. Let me see if I can find in here without revealing everything in my journal. So I did work with the full moon this month. I was a little more intentional. Gosh, if you can hear my stomach, I'm sorry. I feel like that's a thing that we're going to do now. I worked with the moon a little bit. I did an intention. I put that in my journal. It's too much to share my journal on here, so I'm just not going to stress myself out about it. So we'll just talk about it. I did find a little chant, a full moon chant that I added to my journal. And a lot of times, if I find it online or whatever, I like to just type it up. Sometimes I'll write it and I'll put it on pretty paper and I'll round the corners and I'll put it with an oracle card or something. And then I like to tuck it into some kind of pocket in my journal, just to keep. And let's see. Oh, this is the fern spell. I feel like I talked about this maybe. 99% sure I did. Basically, you buy a fern and you get a pebble and you whisper your secrets to the pebble and then you bury it in the fern. And the fern's supposed to keep it safe. So I've tucked that in my journal. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I talked about that. So if you were here for that, so sorry. Okay, next spell that I was working with, let's see. Okay, so this one is the new moon, new start. I'm trying to remember, did I do this one? No, I did not. I intended to though, which I try not to add these to my journal unless I've done them, but I liked it so much I wanted to hold on to it. So take a bottle of your favorite wine or other non-alcoholic beverage with a flashlight. Go to a calming hidden place after nightfall. Use a black permanent marker and draw crescent moons on the bottle, and then you meditate and visualize the obscured moon enchanting the liquid. Once finished, give thanks and leave the bottle outside for 13 days. So, okay, now I remember. I actually did buy kombucha to do this with, but I couldn't figure out if I could leave the kombucha out for 13 days unrefrigerated. Like, it had been, it's sealed. It's a sealed bottle. It's just a bottle of kombucha I bought from the store. But I couldn't find on the internet, like, can I leave it out for 13 days and then consume it? So I didn't do this specifically. I did imbibe of the kombucha on the full moon, but I didn't do the little ritual to go with it. So that was kind of a bummer. But, sometimes it just doesn't work out for you. And I'm okay with that. Okay, next. Oh, so I have a couple that I want to do still. Still got a few days left in May. Okay, so this one is, I don't remember what it's called because I cut the title off. Basically, it's kind of for anxiety-ish. Says, even on the sunniest days, some little bit of gloom can grab us, but it's not healthy to walk through our lives feeling depressed. So it's just a little incantation, or intention that you can speak by yourself quietly. And this was one I wanted to hold on to because I don't know about you guys, but I have those days where I just feel like poop, right? So holding on to this, that will go in my journal. And then this one, okay. So the ritual that I did was not specific to what this is saying. This is more of like kind of a protection spell. But I felt like this was more of hi, I see you. I am not interested in hearing your message, given the way you're trying to present it to me. Please try again. Yeah, I did this little thing. I went out and got a sprig of fresh rosemary, got some thread, wound it up, tied it up, put it next to one of my goddess statuettes, and did the little spell. The thread actually is from the sewing box of my grandma. I've just kind of kept it because I liked it, and it was interesting because I recently switched out my sewing box, and I had this little thread, and I was like, what am I going to do with this? But I couldn't get rid of it because it was my grandma's. It was like one of the only ones that was, that's hers. And so I've just set it here next to my desk. Just kind of like a little magical something to have of hers sitting next to me. So when I saw this and it said to use thread, I knew that that was the thread I had to use. So if anyone has any insight on spider-related spirituality or deities or anything that you would like to share with me, obviously I've done a lot of Googling. I've tried to figure out, what are you trying to tell me? And I've kind of come up empty-handed. So if you have insight, I would love to hear it. Opinions, insight, stories, anything. That would be very welcome. And with all of that being said, man, I had a lot to say today. We are almost at an hour. So if you've made it this far, as usual, thank you so much for sticking around. I've been wanting to do this kind of video for a while now. So I appreciate you all being here, and I will catch up with you next week. Bye.